This line. When he says, "You can see quite far into the future, can't you?" That line from Katakuri is perfection. That is the word that comes to mind. When he said that, it's basically Katakuri saying he acknowledges Luffy, and that he will definitely, one day, surpass every Yonko and become the Pirate King. That is the ultimate form of respect that Katakuri could have gave Luffy in that moment. For him to even say those words, it speaks volumes for how much Katakuri has changed since this fight began, and since we saw his character introduction. When he did that to Luffy, I was just like, bro. Like, I just sit there and had to stop reading the chapter. I'm like, it hit me right there, like, right in the feels. I'm like, this man legit thinks that he is going to be Pirate King. And in a way, when you look at that, what he said, it's kind of saying he knows. He knows Luffy is going to surpass him. He knows Luffy is going to surpass Big Mom. He knows Luffy is going to surpass the Admirals and everybody else in the world. He will be the Pirate King. And man, damn, I love that. I hope I'm not the only one that thought that line was probably one of the best lines that could have finished or settled the fight. But let's also talk about the amazing respect that Luffy gave Katakuri after that. Katakuri, he fell backwards. And I want to point out that the size difference between Luffy and Katakuri is absolutely insane. Like, more of a David and Goliath, like, fight. As we know, Luffy was always doing an uphill battle against Katakuri. Katakuri was someone that was like Luffy, but much better in every single way. And it was, like I said, it was just showcasing the sheer experience and difference and power. Luffy takes his hat and puts it on Katakuri's mouth. Now, many might not understand where that hat came from. Many might not realize what type of details Oda has been building up for a while now. That hat that was put on Katakuri has been the hat that's been around since the whole wedding crash scene. When Luffy was, becoming gangster and all that, he was in his gangster attire, he had a black hat put on top of his, regular straw hat. So the hat we saw in this chapter, that was a little addition that Oda's been building up for a long while since he changed Luffy's design in this arc. And so when he took off, his hat in this chapter and put it on Katakuri's face, when Katakuri wakes up, he's going to see that. He's going to see that Luffy covered his face, and I think that is the ultimate form of respect. So when Luffy put his hat on Katakuri's face, it's kind of like he's honoring the man. It's like he's showing, once again, ultimate form of respect. Katakuri showed him respect, Luffy showed him respect back, and that just speaks volumes for how Luffy views Katakuri, for him to even do that. And it also just shows that Luffy, he doesn't really look at Katakuri as a bad person for him to do that, for him to, put that hat there. And I feel like once everything is said and done, especially once this arc is done, I do believe Katakuri is probably going to really respect Luffy, and probably maybe even, actually join the Straw Hat Fleet. I can definitely see it in the future. Maybe after Luffy takes him down officially in the future when he comes back to bring down Big Mom. There was a tie. Katakuri and Luffy, they tied. And yes, Luffy got back up like 9 or 10 minutes later, but Katakuri is back up as well. And the way I look at that entire segment, it was a tie. And when they were both up and Katakuri fell down, he's like, you can see far into the future. It's kind of like he was saying to Luffy, he's like, screw it. And he's just like, you know what? You win this fight for now. I'm just done. And he just fell backwards. So I believe from my perspective, the fight turned out to be more of a draw or tie than anything else. And when Katakuri just fell backwards, it's kind of like he's like, there's no point. Like, there's just no point in keep fighting. He's just done. And also, what he did in that moment, too, was also showing character development for him as well. Remember, he didn't care if people laughed at him or anything anymore. Even though Luffy covered his face, he didn't care. He doesn't care about that anymore because he was fighting someone and he wanted to respect the man. And so, with him falling backwards like that in front of Luffy, it's kind of like he's saying, I don't care if you see me in a position that is completely embarrassing and people would laugh at, because I know you wouldn't do that. It's kind of like Katakuri saying, I trust you. I trust you enough to know you will not make fun of me, even though he's very self-conscious about it. That makes me happy. It shows how much he admires Luffy. So, let's talk about the other scene with Luffy. Let's talk about him recognizing Peckham's. So, I know everybody's gonna pull a joke and start saying, that's not Peckham's, all that. I know that's a joke and a gag when it comes to the One Piece community. But, jokes aside, okay, let's throw aside jokes for a second. I want to talk about that. Luffy recognized Peckham's, which is a very bizarre occurrence, because normally when it comes to people in disguises, especially from what we've seen many times throughout One Piece, Luffy or certain other characters, they don't usually recognize the person. They think it's someone else entirely. Like, for instance, King. As we know, Usopp, when he was disguised as King, Luffy never really realized it was him. He had no idea, and to this day, he really doesn't know. And when you think about it, Luffy recognizing Peckham's like that, it just like, what does that mean? Was it basically showing that Luffy is serious now? Does it mean that he has upgraded his observation haki so high now that he can recognize people? Something like that is what I get from that scene, because, I mean, with him recognizing Peckham's like that, and Oda not doing a classic gag with Luffy that we've seen time and time again, I'm just assuming since his, observation haki has received a massive upgrade in this fight with Katakuri, that he's probably able to recognize people. That's just my assumption, because of how that scene was done. Maybe that was what Oda was trying to imply with that gag, a typical gag you would see with Luffy, because normally Luffy would just, say a nickname or something. Maybe either he was just too tired to say a nickname, or maybe he did recognize him, but I just want to point out that he was calling Peckham's a nickname a while back, so who knows? Let's also talk about how Katakuri addressed his mother. So, I don't know if this is a translation issue or anything like that. It could be translations, but I want to point out that Katakuri did not call his mother, Big Mom, Mama, or anything like that. He called her Big Mom, because usually from what we've seen from the children, they call Big Mom Mama. So I'm just curious about that. I'm very confused about why he would say that. Maybe it's translations, but I just wanted to point that out. We have Sanji and Pudding have a moment in this chapter, and it's definitely a highlight of this chapter. If it wasn't for the Katakuri stuff, I would have already talked about this for this video. But Sanji and Pudding have a very big moment, and at first glance, it seems like a typical Sanji Pudding moment. Pudding's, acting like a yandere tsundere, and she's, just being mean, but at the same time, she realizes she really does love Sanji. It's a typical scene we've seen already. However, as it continues on, she starts crying. Pudding starts crying because she realizes how, everything happened, how awful she was, and all of that. She starts crying because of how kind Sanji is. And then she basically is like, one last thing, one last wish, and she goes over to Sanji and plucks out his cigarette out of his mouth. Now, there's nothing else shown after that scene, but there's a couple of, theories you can get from that. Either A, Pudding is saying, don't smoke anymore. She cares about him so much that she cares about his health and doesn't want him to smoke, which that would be freaking ridiculous if that is where Oda is taking that segment. If he is legit making it to where Pudding is saying, do not smoke, that is going to be insane, because, Sanji has always been a smoker. Ever since we met him a long time ago in One Piece, he's been popping cigarettes. So if Pudding tells him to not smoke and he legit doesn't smoke anymore, that is gonna just blow my freaking mind. But I know many are gonna point out, but Chibi, at the end of the chapter when he was calling the other Straw Hats, there was something in his mouth. Yes, I saw that. I did see that. But for all we know, that might not be a cigarette. It could be something else entirely. We'll have to see. But I do want to point that out. If that is what Pudding is trying to imply, then I would love that. It would be kind of sad not seeing smoking Sanji anymore, but at the same time, it would just speak volumes for how much he respects Pudding if he does quit smoking. But another possible theory is that Pudding went in for a kiss. Maybe she went in for a kiss to kiss Sanji, which that would be also ridiculous if she did that. But then there is another theory, and this one is more on the darker side, or, I guess sad side, and I could definitely see Oda Sensei doing this, because when it comes to this arc, Pudding is a very big wild card right now, because, there's been a lot of speculations that she could potentially join the Straw Hats, because if she is in love with Sanji, which she is now, then she might join the crew and be with, Luffy and them, and that is a possibility, but at the same time, though, knowing how Oda operates, I don't know if Pudding would necessarily join the Straw Hats. So the only way I could see this possibly ending is if Pudding grabbed out the cigarette, was going to probably go in for a kiss, and she probably erased Sanji's memories. I could definitely see that. That is definitely an Oda-like thing to do, and I could definitely see Pudding doing that because she realizes how much she hurt Sanji, or what she did to him and all that, and so maybe she wants to erase herself from Sanji's memories. That is probably what maybe have happened. Maybe she erased herself from Sanji's memories, and now he doesn't remember her, and, you know, he will carry on like he never knew her. That would be sad. That would be legit sad if that's where Oda's taking it, but we'll see where that's going. Either Pudding grabbed and removed his memories, or, you know, she went in for a kiss, or she actually told him to stop smoking. Those are the only three things that I can think of that most likely happened with that scene. I really appreciate that Big Mom's children, everybody, is actually ready for Luffy to come out of the mirror, because I've seen so many shonen and other manga and stuff to where the main male character, we know for a fact the main male character, you know, is eventually going to get out one way or another. He's going to get out and probably escape or something, and typically the villains love to drop their guards and say, it's impossible, you know, he'll never get away, he'll never escape or whatever. That's something you see constantly from manga, anime, and stuff like that. And so you would think that you would see something like that. You would see, you know, Big Mom's children be like, there's just no way, you know, Straw Hat is going to be able to beat Katakuri and then, you know, get out of the mirror world. But they don't believe Luffy can beat Katakuri, but at the same time, they think about the possibility of Luffy running away and just running away from Katakuri and escaping. That's what they believe. And so I do respect the fact that even though they believe, or they're misguided and they think Luffy can't beat, you know, Katakuri, I do like the fact that they still are thinking he could potentially escape. So that I appreciate. It's a little detail of this chapter I know that many might not care about, but it is something that stood out to me. And so I think that's pretty much it when it comes to this chapter of One Piece. So I want to end it there. If I missed anything, if I didn't mention anything, I mean, I know there was a Capone segment of this chapter, but it was really just a status update. So, I mean, if I missed anything with this chapter and I didn't talk about it, let me know in the comments below. But I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please stay healthy. Please stay safe. And if you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. Please be safe. Chibi out.